The opinion hasn't been filed yet, but the Texas Tech Student Government Association Supreme Court, that's right, we have a student Supreme Court, sat in these seats in the Hunt courtroom of the Texas Tech School of Law to hear oral arguments Thursday night between Luke Cotton and Forrest Stovall, the latest development in the Texas Tech Student Government Association 2013-2014 elections. Stay tuned to the Hub at TTU and MCTV for more developments on the opinion and in the 2013-2014 student government elections. This story is adjourned. Welcome to this Thursday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. My name is Anthony Hall, and today wraps up the first part of SGA's investigation into a smoke-free or tobacco-free campus with two town hall debates that were held Tuesday and today. All rise for the final meeting of the Student Senate this semester, coming up here on MCTV.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Anthony Hall, and I'm here in the Sup Ballroom where Student Legal Services is holding an off-campus housing fair, giving students an opportunity to find out what the options are like living off-campus.
A small explosion occurred last night around 9 p.m. inside the agricultural annex. Lubbock Police and fire engines blocked off 15th Street from Boston to Flint. There's still some activity over there, and reporter Anthony Hall joins us live with more. Anthony?
That's right, Brad. This entire section of 15th Street was blocked off at about 9:30 last night to contain a gas leak in the Kasner building as a result of a small explosion that put a hole in a wall behind a refrigerator. The leak was immediately contained and no injuries were reported, but the officials say that the building will be out of commission for at least 3 days. Marketing and Communications Director Chris Cook released a message last night about the explosion. A small explosion occurred Wednesday night in the CAS in our annex. A lab student flipped off a light switch which triggered the explosion in an interior wall of the building. No injuries were reported and damage was limited to a wall inside the building. The leak was contained. That's all from here. Live for MCTV News, I'm Anthony Hall. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Anthony.
Political reporter Anthony Hall has been covering this for us. He joins us now live with an update. Anthony?
That's right, Andrew. Last night's marathon meeting was a hearing with the Election Commission to determine whether or not the three winning candidates had violated the election code. Raiders United, Luke Cotton, Jill Berger, and Logan Dickinson, were found guilty of soliciting votes and incentivizing votes, as well as asking for students' E-Raider account information to vote for them. All three have been disqualified, and a second election will have to be held later this month. Here in the studio, I'm Anthony Hall.
Well, that's an unfortunate situation. Anthony, how does the election process work moving forward?
Well, they're going to be holding another election starting on the 6th. Actual voting will be March 20th and 21st, and we'll hopefully find out who our new executives will be on the 22nd.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Political reporter Anthony Hall has been covering this from the beginning and joins us live from the news desk with all the details. Anthony?
That's right, Caitlin. Right before spring break, the Supreme Court heard Cotton versus Stovall, an appeals case from the Election Commission deciding whether or not Luke Cotton and Jill Berger had violated the Election Commission. Here are some highlights from the hearing.
The Student Government Association is back in business for the spring semester. Political reporter Anthony Hall shows us what's on SGA's busy agenda.
I call the 10th meeting of the 48th session to order. Senator Wadlow, please listen to pledges.
February 7th Senate meeting was held by President Pro Tem Matt Pippin and began with a number of confirmations from the Senate Rules and Administration Committee doing its best to fill in holes left from last semester. Afterwards was Senate open forum period. This time, it wasn't friendly reminders and memos that the Senate heard about, rather an inflammatory criticism by former Senator and former Chief Justice Stuart Williams.
And most of all, most of you are sitting there looking at me right now. You don't care. You don't care. And that's fine. But just leave. Just leave. Because you represent me. You're the only thing between me and the administration.
Next, legislation. One of the pieces of legislation proposed was another campus infrastructure piece, put forward by Senator Pippin and Luke Cotton. The resolution would support a shared use path between the Engineering Key and Murray Hall for use by both bikers and walkers to help biking students go from one to the other without worry of tickets. The bill alludes to a larger biking initiative to come next year. The Senate also passed legislation in an attempt to preserve Urbanovsky Park, trying to keep any kind of construction from taking away such things as the volleyball courts or the barbecue pit, which many students and organizations hold events and parties at throughout the year. This bill, another campus infrastructure piece, is a result of rumors the senators heard.
When Urbanovsky served as an administrator here, he basically took Texas Tech from a dust bowl to one of the most beautiful campuses in the state of Texas. So we want to preserve it for as long as possible until Texas Tech and the administration has a full plan set up to how they're going to build these buildings, these academic buildings around the Student Rec Center.
Another piece of important legislation that was discussed was the placement of a student, namely the student body president, onto all presidential and dean search councils, which the Senate believes needs student representation. The bill would apply to all future councils and would join the faculty senate representative as a full voting member.
And obviously the chancellor and, Dr. Skrevenek are not exactly going to be saying, hey, let me go find a student. So
all of this legislation can be viewed at sga.ttu.edu. The next Senate meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. Thursday, February 21st in room 353 of the College of Media and Communication. For MCTV News, I'm Anthony Hall. Fat Tuesday is in full swing here at the Sub Courtyard, where TAB held a Cajun culture celebration for a Mardi Gras event, with a 2-hour performance from the Coronado High School Jazz Band and free, that's right, free, Cajun food like gumbo for any student with a Tech ID. It was definitely not an event to miss. TAB is well known to hold different events throughout the year, and this is far from TAB Outreach Director Tyler Ray's first event, but it's definitely among his favorites.
We thought that having a Cajun culture celebration would be great because it's kind of the culture you don't really see around Lubbock, and with it being on Fat Tuesday, we just thought that we could really bring out some Mardi Gras aspects out here, and the students seem to have enjoyed it, so it's been working great so far.
The Coronado Jazz Band played a number of songs, from slow marches to long solos from their horns and saxophone players. Taylor Eldridge has played sax since the 5th grade and was excited to play for Tech outside of this jazz festival.
Well, it was really neat. I enjoy playing jazz, and it's a lot of fun to be able to come and play and have everybody hear you.
Keep coming back to our website for all the great campus events and free food opportunities we can find. For the Hub at TTU, I'm Anthony Hall.
And people get excited about it.
Right. What are some of the other steps that you're taking this semester towards managing the reputation?
Well, for one, that's been quite known as the memorandum that I just wrote. And the memorandum that I wrote has actually been an unspoken policy within the Public Relations Department for quite some time. I talked to many people that have served in the position in the past, whether or not indirectly or directly to public relations, and this is a new name for the position. But I talked to a lot of people and got a lot of insight from advisors and people in the Center for Campus Life, and really all we're doing with that is just trying to make sure that we're aware of when members from student government want to speak to the media. And by no way is it for us using it as a tool of control. We don't want our members to feel like they're being restricted or censored in any sort of way. It's just that we want to make sure that we're in the loop, because there's just about 100 of them and only one of me, or 3 of us in the committee or what have you. And so we just want to make sure that when someone is speaking to a media representative, that we know about it. And the words are pretty flat out said on the memorandum. You must let me know or let someone on this committee know. But really, that's all. We're not going to say no. You can't speak to them. We're not going to say no. And we're not going to. And even if we do come, because a lot of times I would just like to know so that I can come to these things. But it's not for me to interject with the opinion or for me to coach them beforehand or to talk to them afterwards or to clear up anything. The point is just for someone to be there as a tool and as a resource for members in the student government who may not have the experience of talking with the media, or who may not have the experience or know exactly what they're talking about, because a lot of times if the media, catches them off guard and says, hey, I'd like to speak to you about something, well, if they really don't know what's going on, that's when they can use myself or someone who would fill in for me to say, can you just give me a little bit of information regarding this? And then I'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem. Let me relay, and then you can relay that. Fix them with your own opinion, on whatever you like.
Are there guidelines that you give them? You know, things you can and cannot say, anything like that?
The only thing that we highly